Hello and welcome to DampSam Reacts. This week's video is called How to Remove Penetrating Dampness. It's a strange one, this, because the title says how to remove penetrating dampness. So it got me intrigued. Like I said, I put my keywords in and this one come up. And it's from a year ago. It's from a guy called Sion Hughes. I don't know whether that's supposed to be pronounced Sean, Sion. Somebody in Yorkshire, it's Sion. So there's Celine Dion in there. I don't know how that's spelt, but Sion. Right, so how to remove penetrating damp. He's got 187,000 subscribers, or I think it's 187,000 subscribers. It looked like it. He might have said one and then 87,000 subscribers. He's got 39,000 views for this video, so 39,000 people have watched this, and if it's all spot on and right, then he's got 39,000 happy customers. But if he's putting wrong information out there, he's got 39,000 people that's doing stuff wrong. Reason why I do these videos. So let's get straight into it. You don't want to just see me laughing and joking, do you? Let's get into it. Come on, Sion. Let's see you, Sion.
This is how I solved penetrating damp in my old cottage. Now, I had redecorated this.
Right, so let's have a look at this. My first impressions of this is saying he's got penetrating damp in his old cottage. Straight away, patterns of dampness there are from condensation forming on cold spots. You can just tell. It does look as if he's got a couple of cracks here and there, but my first impression is there's cold air coming through, and then he's got a lack of adequate ventilation inside his cottage. I don't know what time of year it is, and he's basically got some condensation forming there. I don't know what floor it is. I'm just looking. There seems to be a decent gap underneath that skirting that he's got, that timber skirting. Let's see.
Room in the summer, and filled in cracks that I could see in the wall, plastered over them, and then painted. And then as the season wore on, I noticed these damp stains appearing, and this is the telltale signs of penetrating damp.
So he's just said that, and I have to apologise that I didn't have my mic up there. So he's just said that these are the telltale signs of penetrating damp. They're not telltale signs. They're not patterns of dampness that would be associated with penetrating damp. Your pattern of dampness, if that were penetrating damp coming through, you'd have an area actually where the damp or the water was penetrating, and then where it had been drying out and then getting wet, drying out, getting wet, you'd have kind of sort of circles. So it'll look like when you cut a tree in half, it look like inside of a tree, because it dries out and then gets wet, and then dries out and gets wet. He just continually does that. Not a lot, but you do see these rings. You don't see what he's got there, which is condensation forming on it. Solid wall with render on, dense render on. Just a classic sign for a surveyor that is qualified and competent, not someone that's guessing.
Now, I know that this house doesn't have a damp-proof course, and that trench is a testament to that. That's how they cope with the damp. And
well, if it's not got a damp-proof course, I think it means it's not got a physical damp-proof course, because someone would have put a retrofit one in, surely drilled and injected one, unless these heritage people that say no chemicals in wall. All right, Pete. So yeah. So if you're into sort of that kind of thing, then they might not have put a retrofit one in, but it definitely didn't look like rising damp. They've put a trench there to try and stop water running up to building. Let's have a look.
And then it's a solid brick wall, and on the inside it has waterproof render. You always got to check for leaks.
So it said on inside it's got waterproof render. There's a difference between damp proofing render and waterproofing render. Now, I'm not sure whether he knows the difference and whether or not it has got waterproof or damp proofing render. A damp proofing render would be such as your K11s and what people call tanking or waterproofing. So you can get additives that will go into your render and make it basically a waterproof render. But then there's other additives that just allow it to be a damp-proof render, which will allow water vapor to go in and out of it. One of the things I can see there is we've got like some staining on this wall, so it looks as if I think did we not see a chimney breast? So that could be back at the fireplace, and then that chimney breast goes, that fireplace goes all the way up and then veers off to the right through flue. So that could be fireplace. So there could be some sulfate contamination going off around about there. Out on window. Look relatively new windows. I can't really see out.
But as I say, this is a solid.
Oh, there's a drip member on top. So will water run down wall off of there, and will it drip onto the wall? But yeah, definitely two damp patches there. But what happens with them kind of damp patches is that it will create a cold spot inside if it's a solid wall.
Brick wall, and water is ingressing from the outside of the wall to the inside of the wall. It's not rising damp because, as you can see from this local bridge, water doesn't travel more than a couple of inches up. So it's travelling through the wall and through some hole.
It's not travelling through the wall. I'm not having that. I think it's going to be cold air that's going to be coming through if it's a crack
In the render itself. So by chiselling off all of the plaster, it gives me a chance to see actually what I'm dealing with. And so as I peel it off, I notice a crack. Now in the top corner there, you'll notice there is the before shot, and that shows how the water has.
Right. So with sand and cement, if it's not put on exactly right, the nature of sand and cement is you will get some hairline cracking in it, and that looks like what's happened here. Fairly dry underneath. It is. It's dry. That's really dry. So let's see what it says.
Leaked through, and then gravity has made it go down. So I decided to chase out all of the cracks and make them a good size so that I can fill them in. On this side, next to the window, the damp has come through and then gone a bit up.
It's not come through. It's a cold spot what's been created. So air going through it, and then that plaster has become wet because condensation has formed on that cold spot.
A bit down. So I'm going to.
I mean, you can see when he's chiseling it off. This is just, it's all dry at back. One of the tests that we do to see whether they've got penetrating damp, and as I've mentioned it before, so what you have to do is, if you've got a wet patch on your wall internally, what you do is you scratch that patch with a key. I mean, he's chiseling all plaster off, and you can just see that it's dry underneath. It's that pink colour, so it's not like a dark colour. So that tells us that the water's not coming from the back. It's forming on the surface. Just a classic example of it. Hiya, it's DampSam here. I've just come on just to tell you that DampSam.com is now up and running. we've got the Express damp proofing system course, designed by me, run by me, done by me. You can buy that. We've got the ultimate guide to black mold and condensation. You can pay what you want for it. And we've also got 3 free ebooks. And also we've got a guide to basement conversions, the ultimate guide to damp proofing, and also the podcasting series. You can get in contact with them, and the YouTube membership. Enjoy it, rest of your film.
That's found another way through, some hole that I didn't manage to fill in. On the opposite side, that's before and that's after. On the opposite side, it's a smaller area of plaster, so it would make sense that it would dry quicker, but it certainly looks better.
Right, so what I think's happened, I think that PVA, he's just used all wrong stuff. He's put that PVA on, and I think that PVA has reacted with something. He's just basically made a mess. He's just made a mess of it all. Condensation's still forming on that wall, and because he's got plaster that's not painted and it's open, and it's really porous, he's got a ventilation issue, and it's been hammering it down, and it's humid. That humid air is just basically being absorbed by that finished plaster, and then the waterproofing that he's put on is not drying out, so he's just getting issue after issue after issue, and he's just made a mess and a pig's ear of what he's doing. And if he'd have got a professional in, it could have saved him all this trouble.
Before, and that's currently. So I decide to paint it and see what happens, and to my joy, I have success here. It's worked, so just filling in that crack has worked like a treat.
Well, it's saying it's worked. There's a big dark patch here, which is supposed to have been done, and to me, it looks like there's shadowing under here, with probably condensations forming as well.
And as I go to the other side of the room, that too has worked, and actually.
Well, it hasn't, has it? Because look at how patchy it is. He's still getting condensation and water forming on that wall.
Immediately to the.
Is it cracked again? Or is he just drawn around it?
Around the corner, that's worked too, but on the back, around where you can see I've drawn a pencil, I can see it's got moisture coming through. So I have to get radical at this stage, and so off comes the plaster.
What an idiot! This is. I'm glad he's not doing out in my house. This is what happens when you're guessing. So he's acted all plaster off, tried one way, and then he's hacking it off again and trying another way. But yet he's got all these subscribers that think he's doing it right, and they can see that he's just guessing. Is he? They'd probably been able to do a better job than that.
And then that section beneath it, which is still cloudy, where there's still moisture getting through somewhere.
It's not getting through. It's not getting through. It's condensation forming on cold spots. You can see how dry it is underneath. How dry this render is, and it don't look a bad render that's on. How frustrating is this?
All that comes off too, and from
I mean, it does look as if there's a big crack. There's a big crack here. So obviously that's where what's been. You've got cold air coming through it. Easiest thing for him to do if you wanted to sort this out once and for all, rather than putting a render back on, just cut it out and put express damp proofing system in, which he'd have been able to cut that square and then just stick a board in. So put salt neutralizer and stick a board in. Surface would be warmer. There's a slight cavity between board and wall. Air can flow up there and evaporate in the ingress, which the int. But or another way would have been, because it's sound, that plaster, if he wanted to, he could have put a dry flex membrane on it, which is really thin, stuck that on, or even go on. I feel awful for I forget every time what they call it because I'm not used to saying it all the time. Just bear with me. Hiya, DampSam here. Did you know if you want to watch a full unedited version of this, if you become a Damp fan, $2.99, which is as much as an expensive cup of coffee up here, you can watch a full unedited version of this. Nah, let's get back watching this bit, eh? See you in a bit. I've got it here in a folder, and because I ain't used it for that long. It could use this stuff from Wickham. Go on, and it's called. Fuck me. It's called here the Thermal Eco Wall System, but it ain't. It's isotherm. That's it. Isotherm. I ain't used it for a bit, but come this. This is what they call it. So that goes on. Look how thin it is. So that's stuck on with like a waterproof tile adhesive. And you just put your tile adhesive straight over it, and this comes on a roll, 7-meter roll. And then you just iron it out. It's not cheap, but it'd have been quicker than what he's done there. A lot quicker. So there, I hate to get that out. What's he got to say now?
At this point, it's then cover the whole thing in Unibond, mix up the tanking solution, and then apply a generous coat. And the important thing to remember here is to make sure that you get that coat so it makes total contact with all the edges. And I'm using a little kitchen sponge here, and I'm wiping it right into the corners. So a couple of days later, you can see
that's ridiculous.
It's still drying, but you can also see how close I've got that tanking solution into the corners because I'm trying to get a perfect seal. And the use of the straight edge is really just to show me that I've got extra space for putting more coats of tanking solution. So there, I'm applying a couple of days later a nice wash of Unibond in preparation for a second.
Right, so this is something that you just, kids at home, please, if you're ever going to be, I mean, look how it's fucking cracked. If you're going to use a polymer modified waterproofing solution like K11, Vandex, there's loads out there. If you're going to use one, do not use it with PVA or a PVA solution that's been watered down. Use SBR. Or, I mean, I don't think you'd need to use it, but that tells me that when he's applied that, he's not damped wall down for a start. So he's just put that straight onto like a dry brickwork, which tells you how dry it was anyway. He's just making a right mess. He's making an absolute right mess of this.
Coat, and the cracks I can see there, I'm not sure what they're all about, but I soldier on. And so on with the second coat and final coat of the tanking solution. And I'm putting this on as thickly as I can, but obviously leaving enough sort of space for them.
And one thing is, it's costing him a fucking fortune. That's not cheap. How much did he say it was? 25 quid a tub. It's probably used 2 tubs now. That's 50 quid, and that's not even taking into consideration how many hours he's been at it. We just build his ass hanging out.
For me to be able to get some plaster on, so it's flush with the wall.
He wants to get a fucking belt on. That's what he wants to get. A belt on with them grey joggers. What he's got on. I don't know. I'll make a video, and I'll show how wrong it is, and then I'll get some tracky bottoms that I sit in, drinking me pop and that on an eat, and I'll just get camera there, and I'll bend over, and I'll just show builder's crack. Oh my ass.
And again, I'm going to make sure that I wash that right up to the edges, right into the corners, because I'm going for that perfect sort of watertight bond.
Oh my god.
I don't want there to be a possibility of
what a mess
at any point, and that's what it looks like. So that's the end of the tanking.
It's a mess.
And so we'll let that dry, and 3 days later.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Look at that. You can, I mean, just looking at it, you can. You don't need me to explain how shit and rubbish that looks. So so I'm speechless. So he's put PVA on wall. He's mixed PVA with something else, and then he's put waterproof solution on. Then he's put more PVA on, waterproof solution on, and then he's going to put some more PVA on, and then he's going to put some finish plaster on, isn't it? And then with all this condensation that goes through the wall, it's just going to blow up finish. So it's not going to be long before he's coming back, and it's wet again because you'll have cracks in finish plaster, and water will have gone through and got trapped between finish plaster and waterproofing, and it'll just sit on waterproofing. So it's just making it worse and worse and worse.
You can see there's no signs of staining.
Oh no!
On to the next stage. Final layer of plaster.
Which is easy, isn't it?
Try and see what that looks like. And that's what it looks like immediately when I finish plastering. And 5 days later, it looks nice and dry, so I can afford to sand it down.
So plastering is easy, isn't it? And then he has to fucking sand the fucking thing down because he can hang his kite on it.
And then give it a thin Unibond in preparation for a
more Unibond.
And I want to put a thin coat of paint on because that'll exaggerate any staining.
So he'd put Unibond on to put his fucking paint on. Do you know?
And the next day, it's a success. So I'm absolutely delighted. And so I have finally resolved the penetrating damp in my home.
You aren't.
And all it's cost us so far is £50 for 2 buckets of tanking solution, £10 for some PVA, and £8 for some plaster.
And £1,000 worth of labour because it took you fucking weeks and weeks, mate.
So this is a very economic and
that's before.
Effective way to properly resolve penetrating damp. Listen, I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful, and it would make a big difference.
I'm not having it. So we've still got shadows here, and I just think it's patchy. It's still patchy. We can see it weather's brightened up, but totally useful. Not useful, useless.
To this channel, if you would consider subscribing, and make a big difference to me as well. Put a huge smile on my face. Listen, thanks for watching.
You're welcome, Sion. So, what can we take from that? It's one of them things, isn't it? Like what I've said before. Don't guess at what the problem is. I know we can all look online and we can kind of say, is it like this? Is it like that? If you've got an issue and you want us to have a look at it, go on to our Facebook group. Why is my property DampSam? And then you can upload your photos and be pointed in the right direction. If this guy had have sent his photos in, we could have told him it were an internal issue. He seems that type that probably would have ignored it and gone on and hacked all plaster off anyway, because he's probably bored out in his ear, sat in his joggers all day. But he's going to come back. He's a ventilation issue, so every winter he's going to have an issue. So he'll probably be hacking it off every winter, but he'll probably be happy about that. Get a competent professional in and let them tell you what the issue is. Do your own due diligence. Look for someone who knows what they're on with, has got good reviews, and get them to come and do a survey. You might have to pay for it, so you'll have to weigh up whether it's going to be worth it. But surely getting somebody in to have a look is going to be cheaper than what he's done. Spent all his time hacking off and then putting it and then redoing it and then mixing his. He's saying that's all it's cost him. A couple of bags of K11, 50 quid. It weren't, because he's got all his labour, and then there's his finish, and then there's his PVA. It's 200 quid in PVA. That old PVA Peter there. So anyway, I hope you've got some valuable from this this lesson. Me looking at somebody doing a job online that's gone to 34,000 people, 39,000 people who think that that's how you do waterproofing, damp proofing for penetrating damp, and it ain't, and because it won't penetrate in damp. to tell you the truth, so that's DampSam. I'm going to leave it there. See you next one. Bye bye now.